market, and the government has started to rent rivers, actually to sell for 50 years to companies, smaller creeks and smaller rivers. They gave it completely to a company. The company decided where to build which hydroelectric power plants on the rivers. There, they divert the water. They don't flood the valleys, they dry the valleys out. This is different to the usual dams. And there are plans to build 2,000 of them. Each of them has impacts on several villages. And the villages, they use the water in the creek for their needs. And now the government comes and gives it to the companies, and they don't get any compensation. So the people who had land titles along the rivers and whose land has been flooded could get a certain amount of expropriation, but this amount is not so high in Turkey. However, the Tigris Dam plays in all these discussions a very important role. It is the biggest dam in planning or in construction. It is very expensive, then 2 billion euros should cost. It would affect 80,000 people totally. 80,000 people would not be displaced, all of them, but people use the water, and the dam would take their living, destroy their living conditions. Among the people are at least 20,000 nomads, and they cross the river and use the water, and the dam would decrease also the water quality. This is expected as there are cities and irrigation is developing, and the wastewater will go to the river. The dam has very crucial ecological impacts, of course. The Tigris Valley is one of the last working river ecosystems in Turkey, and they would flood it on a length of 136 kilometers. It's a big dam. All these people, yes, actually we don't know what we will lose. It's the same with the cultural heritage. We are in the upper Mesopotamia region, where the settlements are around 10,000 years old, and it has not been excavated well. So the dimension of impacts, they are so diverse, and they would destroy an important region, and the people of the region, they would have no benefits. Only the big companies, some smaller companies in the region, but that's all. But we would in the region not benefit in any way. The central government would have it. Would have it in the aspect of economic income. They would have a control mechanism against Iraq and Syria. Tunis will speak about it. And they use also this dam for their politics. The objectives. There are several objectives. If somebody asks, and yes, we are in a region where the conflict about the unsolved Kurdish question is going on. Currently we have no clashes or so, and there's a dialogue process, but we have no peace process yet. And we never know, we don't know what will happen. The war can start again between the Turkish state and the Kurdish guerrilla of PKK, Kurdistan Workers' Parties. Okay. So, and however, they use it, this dam also, they plan to use it, they said it off openly as against the Kurdish guerrilla, because there are mountains, so they use it also, they want to use it also as a weapon. And they will use, the dam would be also a continuation of the assimilation of the Kurdish people in this region. And in the 90s, 3,000 villages have been destroyed, and with this dam, up to 200 villages would be flooded completely or partly. So this is, and the Kurdish language is forbidden, was forbidden, it's a little less forbidden, but assimilation continues. And we have also a very intensive, so special case in Turkey, not this dam, but 11 other dams directly at the border to Iraq. They are big dams between 35 and 80 meters. They are built officially because of military reasons. They say security reasons. In the world there are dams which are used, of course, for military reasons, but these dams are officially used for that. And we can read it in the official report of the government. And they plan to flood the important part of the area between Turkey and Iraq against the Kurdish guerrilla of PKK. They have built already 3, and the construction for some others continue. So the Turkish government follows several aims with these dams. And at this point, I guess I can end and give it the right
No, that was 10 minutes, so you have another.
Okay.
Are you solving 9 minutes?
Okay, my name is Tom from the Save the Tigris campaign. I cooperate with Ercan, also against the Sudan. We are a campaign, a nationwide campaign in Iraq, and we also advocate against the Sudan. And recently our focus expanded also to include the protection of water infrastructure in times of crisis, because we all heard about the current conflict in Iraq. We started as an advocacy campaign in 2012, and we are a coalition of several civil society organizations, NGOs in Iraq, and international activists. So it's very interesting, a combination of international and local activists. We have activists from the UK, from the US, but also lots of organizations from Iraq. And we cooperate with communities and organizations in Turkey, like Ercan, also Iran. So we focus on 2 components of water grabbing. First one is Elisu Dam, which Ercan already talked about. Elisu Dam will have a huge impact in Iraq. It will reduce the water flow to Iraq significantly. And this is what we advocate against. The second component is we advocate against the use of water as a weapon of war in the current conflict. And we are against the manipulation of water as a tool to control the armed conflict. And this is something that all parties in the current Iraqi conflict are guilty of. The Iraqi government, Shia militias, Daesh or ISIS, they all want to control, well, they all look at water as a strategic resource, and they try to control dams in order to influence the armed conflict. And Mosul Dam is, for instance, a pretty good example of that, which was the site of a battle actually in August last year, when both ISIS and the Peshmerga, the Kurdish Peshmerga, tried to control the dam, and the environment was bombed by the American coalition. And there have been instances of dams being used to flood areas or to cut off water from communities. So this is what we are advocating against. And we have many challenges. There's the current crisis, there's no real water management in Iraq, there's no transboundary water agreement between Iraq and Turkey, there's a population growth, also there's no transparency in the Ministry of Water Resources. Elisu is not really viewed as a threat in Iraq, so we try to put the issue on the agenda. And we have 2 components. We try to focus on creating awareness in Iraq, and we also try to focus on advocacy towards the Iraqi government. So on the local level, we try to create awareness about the issue of dams, mostly Elisu Dam, but also dams within Iraq in the Kurdistan region, because dams are unfortunately still very popular within the government. People think it's still a good thing to build dams. And on the national level, we focus on advocacy towards the Iraqi government. We want them to establish a water crisis and a post-water crisis group. And we also want them to adhere to UN development goals. And we want them to safeguard access to water for all Iraqis. And we want to try to get the Iraqi government to negotiate with Turkey. And we have several instruments we use. For instance, we have the instruments of international law. And we try to look into the options of the legal options we have. but unfortunately there aren't many treaties we can use. And but there is, for instance, a 1997 treaty on the non-navigational use of international waters, and we produced a legal paper last year, which could be a very good instrument for the Iraqi government to use against Turkey or to look into. And we've also been focusing on getting to work with academics to produce an impact study, because this is also a problem. We know that Eliso Dam is a very big issue, but there's no real big comprehensive impact assessment of what the impact of Eliso Dam will be on Iraq. So we've been trying to get academics to produce impact assessment of Eliso Dam. And this could help the government of Iraq in its negotiations with Turkey, and it would also pressure the Iraqi government to actually focus and really invest in negotiating with Turkey. And I think the main strength of our campaign has been that we've had a strong focus on international solidarity, and the whole issue of water grabbing and ecological issues are very new in Iraq. Before the American invasion, there were no real organizations focusing on ecological issues or water grabbing, and we've established to put the issue on the agenda, and I think that's very important. And we've integrated you can call it ecological movement in Iraq within the global ecological movement through the World Social Forum, but also we have an Iraqi Social Forum in Iraq, which was actually the first social forum in the Middle East. And we also cooperate with them on organizing awareness and advocacy initiatives. And we cooperated with local organizations, NGOs, who didn't focus on ecological issues before or water grabbing. So now they are focusing on these issues, and it's very new, but it's a great accomplishment that now we put the issue on the agenda, and nationwide actually, because we focus on all areas in Iraq. And I think that's a big strength of our campaign, that we've established this international solidarity, and that Iraqis can be part of the global exchange to talk about their issues and the issue of water grabbing, and to share ideas and experiences, and in turn make their own movement stronger to work against water grabbing.
Maybe you can mention a bit of our work in the Iraqi marshes and UNESCO.
Yes, we're also focusing on the Iraqi marshes actually. We also advocate for the protection of the Iraqi marshes, which is like the big wetlands in the south of Iraq. And as I mentioned already, Eliso Dam will have a huge impact on the water flow to Iraq. So the water flow going to the Iraqi marshes